This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
If and when you find yourself frustrated, agitated, just kind of brooding a little bit, it's a filter. I'll explain. Hello. Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah, and I am just getting my voice back. If you missed a couple of episodes last week, it's because I didn't record any. I didn't have a voice. Something's been in the air, and, I'm grateful that my immune system has a tendency to bounce back and be a little bit stubborn, but it still took a few days, and we're here. We're here now. We are here now. Just make sure you guys are out there taking care of yourselves, like checking your stress, washing your hands, just out here, because the germs are out here, and it's crazy. Like I always say, it's like, I don't have time to get sick, right? It's not something that you fit in. But when it happens, it really does force you to kind of slow down. You do what you can, but it really does. You have to take time. You have to take time. So again, the hiatus was due to no voice, no energy. Your boy just wasn't feeling good, but we're here now. And, something that I've been sitting with and just mulling over and recognizing and becoming very aware of is this thing that happens when we get frustrated, thing that happens when we get upset, the things that happen when we get pissed, sometimes bitter is a good word, right? That comes up. If you find yourself in situations or just going through your daily where there's just this seething that you have just in your body, and you're frustrated, you're easily agitated, like things just kind of get to you. That is information. That is information of a few things. That is information of potential stagnancy. That is information of potentially feeling unvalued or not seen. Fear of something, right? It's fear-based. Frustration also has an element of fear to it. And I don't know if I said this, but a lack of movement, a lack of action. Right. And I always think it's great when I find myself being human. And when I say human, it's like, it's funny whenever we have like a negative feeling or negative response to something, we automatically align with that feeling, right? I'm a negative person. I'm a bitter person. I'm an angry person. And it's not even that. It could just be circumstantial and something's happening in the works. And this is dependent on the person, right? This is definitely contingent on the person and how they function and how they move through life. Whenever I find myself kind of in this state of my body just doesn't really it's not feeling the feel. How do I explain it? It doesn't feel clean, right? My internal workings just doesn't feel clean. It's kind of like water needs to be filtered through, cleaner water. And when I catch that, I know that there's something happening that needs to be taken care of, right? I know it. Okay. And I can usually pinpoint, like, I know specifically when, something in particular is on my heart, in my head, and I'm upset about it, or I'm not really vibing with it. I don't like it. And I may bypass it sometimes, right? Or it may feel like, oh man, this thing isn't happening, or this can't happen, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then it just becomes how do I explain it? It's kind of like, the best way I could explain it, and I've heard this from other people, is when you're in a relationship that the relationship itself has died. However, the two people kind of stay together and you go through the motions. And what happens is everything now becomes an issue, except for just the issue itself. Like when you walk into the house, the person's there. Oh, they're washing the dishes now. I'm aggravated, right? Or even coming home, you get mad about that, right? There's this feeling and there's this discomfort that happens. And again, this may not apply to everybody, so take what applies, whatever it doesn't, do not. But it's just a mental image. When you're at that point in a relationship where everything is an issue, everything is an issue. I don't like the fact that this person puts their left shoe on first. Their sock, then their shoe. And then they put their sock and then their shoe versus putting both socks on at the same time. Like, it becomes the little things. Whenever the little things start to add up, or like you just become agitated about everything, and even in your waking life, everything is kind of feeling like dust, or glitter, right? You know how hard glitter is to get out? Everywhere you go, you find a piece of damn glitter. That's kind of what happens when you are, you have unfiltered frustration. Ooh, I like that. Unfiltered frustration, right? When you have unfiltered frustration, everything is an issue. Everything is an issue, and it clouds what the real issue is. Okay? And for me, respectively, I know when everything is an issue or everything feels like something, I know the one thing. And then when I focus on that one thing, I pinpoint it. I'm like, okay, cool. What can I do about this thing? Right? Sometimes a lot of your frustration is a lack of direction and a lack of action. A lack of direction and a lack of action. And then you can break those two things down, right? Lack of direction. I don't know which way I want to go. All right, or you do know which way you want to go. And you can apply this to a job change, like moving, conversation, whatever. You could apply this to anything. I don't know which decision I want to make. You know which decision you want to make. You are trying to find the one that doesn't have the most uncomfortable consequences, right? And this is how we stay, quote unquote, stuck in limbo. Okay? I don't know which one. It's like, well, you do know. Okay. I don't want to make the decision. That's more honest. That filters it. Okay. But once you accept, I don't want to make this decision. All right, cool, dope. So you recognize you not making this decision keeps you in this place of stagnancy. and keeps you in this place of bitterness, resentment, anger, frustration, clouded judgment, confusion, right? Lack of progress, and also in a lot of ways, lack of worth, right? It's a lacking place because you don't want to make a decision, right? Or there's work involved to apply the decision, and you're not really looking to do that because it requires some level of mental work from you. So you're not ready to step into that space. And then that's also information too. That is also information. So when it's all said and done, you got to see frustration as a filter. And a beautiful thing about when you are frustrated, for me personally, whenever I am like really in this space of like, all right, cool, something, I'm not in it. I'm not in my flow. I am not in my flow. Okay, cool. What can I do small to get me closer to where I want to be? And then I go from there. A lot of times our frustration comes from our belief that we do not have agency or permission to move freely through this world. And when I say freely through this world, I mean that you get to be your own human. And if you're constantly crippled by the idea that people are not going to like you, or you're going to make the wrong decision, or, what if you lose out, and, all these what ifs. If you are constantly ran by that, you will never make a decision for yourself, and you will never truly learn how to trust yourself either. Okay? What you need to understand is that every decision, even indecisiveness, is action. It's all action, and all of it has consequence. Every choice we make has consequence, and consequence is not always a bad thing. It's just kind of like the results of doing. Okay? So you got to understand that for yourself when it's all said and done. Like, me not moving, me not making a choice is keeping me in this frustration. It's blocking my flow.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouthwatering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Right? You know when you're in flow because things just move, right? You show up to the things that you love, it flows. Even the hard stuff flows. Things are just constantly working, right? Working. It's kind of like a domino effect in the best way possible. One thing after another, it's just rocking. You're in flow. The reason why is because you're giving yourself the space and clarity to do that. However, when you're indecisive and when you're stuck or you feel stuck or you're waiting for other people to make decisions for you or you're waiting for other people to do these things, etc., your flow stops. And there's a difference between collaboration and, someone needing to make their action for certain things to happen versus always waiting in life for other people to decide for you. Very big difference. If you never are willing to take agency and do the hard thing, right, and step into that space, your flow is always going to be blocked. And your frustration is always unfiltered. Always unfiltered. But when you have this wherewithal or processes of like, well, what's going on? Can I pinpoint it? What can I do about it? And you start breaking things down, that's taking action. And then you start applying, that's taking action. And that starts to filter your frustration, right? You start cleaning out the water a little bit, right? You shake out the particles. And then you have some progression. That's why a part of me is like, even though I don't like how it feels when I get there, I value it because it is a big indicator that there needs to be movement. There's a lack of movement. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's a buildup, right? It's a particle buildup. Whenever I feel like I'm frustrated and things are just kind of like, I'm very sensitive to a lot of, there is a particle buildup. And then I just start filtering. I start filtering. You know, so when it's all said and done, it's really just cool to tap in a little bit and catch yourself when you're really frustrated. And when you recognize that, it's cool to even pause and say, well, what is not being done? And you can just say it like objectively. What is not being done in this moment? Is this person, do I recognize that there is a lack of effort? Do I recognize that there is a lack of sincerity? Do I recognize that there's a lack of care, value, whatever? Okay. Do I recognize that there's a lack of trajectory on my end? Do I recognize that there is a lack of focus on my end? A lack of discipline, right? A lack of progress, a lack of tangible results? What is lacking that's starting to clog my flow? What am I missing that's starting to clog my flow? And you can sit there, but don't sit there for too long because now we need to make action. All right, we got to get the water moving. It has to be circulating. It has to be circulating. A lot of people are frustrated because they're waiting for life to do these things versus being a participant in life and doing the things. Some things will require your patience. Yes, trusting it and just moving through it. Other things will require your effort. So trusting it and then applying the work, making some uncomfortable decisions. Okay, revamping. Okay, going back to the drawing board, doing what you need to do. Everything has a consequence. And if you can accept that and trust that, making uncomfortable decisions, but necessary decisions, might be a little bit easier and more realistic for you because everything is a consequence. You're going to have consequences to everything, right? You go to the grocery store, you buy that food. All right, cool. The consequence is that, well, money comes out of your bank account. But do you get more money? Yeah. Okay. The other side, you eat something you're not supposed to eat. The consequence. It tasted good, but the consequence of it is now you don't feel great. That's consequence. And hopefully it doesn't take you out of here and you can live to do it differently another day. Everything you do has consequence. Everything you do. It's just a matter of like what consequence you're ready for. Okay. And can you endure stagnancy? And if you can, for how long? What is it actually costing you to stay in this this state of blockage? It's like a dam, right? The water's not flowing. The water is not flowing. And when you do things angry, I think it's different to do things with anger in your heart and do things using that energy from your anger, right? Because energy is energy is energy. You just take that momentum that you have, that you're angry, apply it. You know, when something's bothering you, use it. Get smart. Like, use it. What happens next? Okay? It is all information. And when you are blocked with so much information, filter. And filter, you can have an honest conversation with somebody else about it. Hey, I could use your opinion, or I could use your perspective. This is how I'm feeling. What do you think? And you could even filter that advice. Like, I understand when we make tough decisions, we don't always need to make them by ourselves either. The decision is up to you, yes, but you can have support and counsel to make a more conscious choice, right? Because we have people around us who may have experiences with what we are experiencing, or just have an outside perspective, right? Because sometimes when you're in the thick of the situation and the thing, you cannot see yourself. You cannot see yourself. You cannot see the circumstances. All you see is the cloud. All you see is the wall, but you don't see the door. Somebody from a different vantage point may see the door and be like, hey, have you tried this thing? And that's perfect. Because, man, does it remind you that, hey, you still got life to live. And this moment feels very severe and huge. But, hey, here's the door. I truly challenge you to start seeing your frustration as a need to filter. Because it's telling you something is up. Right? It's just information. Something is not right. It doesn't always mean, deception. It could just mean misinformation, a lack of clarity, a lack of movement. But sometimes it is deception. Okay? You're frustrated that somebody or something is not being as forthright as they are posturing. Okay? Okay. So now what? Now what? It's so cool to just kind of like take your time. So cool to take your time. And be frustrated. A lot of my stuff gets done because it's like there are moments of frustration that I have, and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna get to work. It's like the person, like, when you're upset, you clean your house. It's nothing like it, because that energy is now carried into something constructive, and your house gets clean space. Okay, so that's just something, a little thing to put in your hat, because like I said, I've been in this space where I'm just like, it's time to filter. It's been time to filter, and things have just been kind of like, there's been a buildup. I'm like, all right, cool, my flow is getting blocked. So I got to do something about this. But I always know, whenever I find myself frustrated, consistently frustrated, there is something that's blocked. So I clear the space. I filter the water. Just filter the water. When you're frustrated, don't, beat up on yourself. Filter the water. Don't let your frustration go unfiltered for too long, because it starts to kind of pollute everything else, even the sense of how you see yourself, how you see the people that are good for you, how you see the things that are good to you. Okay? So take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take flight.